Hello and welcome to Voices of BlueScope, the podcast where we meet the people who work behind the scenes at BlueScope to create strength every day. I'm your host, Martin Feld. Thank you for listening. This time, we're taking a trip down memory lane. Recently, we were thrilled to welcome 91-year-old John Lysaght on a tour of our Springhill facility in New South Wales, Australia. John is the direct descendant of the John Lysaght, who founded the company in the 1800s. On the day of his visit, he was joined by his son, Andrew, daughter-in-law, Lexi, and grandchildren, Zoe and Will. John was Managing Director of Lysaght, which at the time was named John Lysaght Australia Limited, and retired from the company in 1989 after a stellar 35-year career, with much of his work based at Springhill. Today, Lysaght continues to be a recognised premium BlueScope brand and has gone global, but much has changed in the way that products are manufactured, with particular regard to automation and safety. After their tour, the Lysaght family was generous enough to sit down with our manager corporate affairs, Michael Reay, to reflect on John's career and discuss what they saw on the day. Let's cross to that conversation now, which was recorded at our Northgate Visitor Centre in Port Kembla. Make sure to visit the links and show notes to see some of the images that I mentioned.
Today we have got manufacturing royalty in the house. We've got the Lysaght family here. We've got 3 generations of Lysatts and none other than the John Lysaght here, which will come to you in a second, John. But we've got Lexi, Zoe, Will and Andrew. 3 generations. Fabulous for you to be here. What did you think, John, of the tour coming back?
Coming back from where I was locked into a small cell up in Sydney.
Yeah, that's not very good, is it? It's much more free here, isn't it? Yeah, that's right.
No, it was fascinating actually to see the whole district and what's going on, and it's changed a lot from the short times that I had here.
Short times. I heard that you might have been here 35 years at one point.
Well, that's short, isn't it?
That's right. It is pretty short in the scheme of things. So, and what did you think of Springhill, which was the Lysaght plant that you ran when you were in charge? What did you think of it today? Was it look a little bit different?
A lot different, and I don't know how I'd answer that question, because obviously it is different, and the structure of buildings and things like that. I just wonder what the environment that everybody is working there, how that has changed from the time when I was there, or Andrew or others were there.
A lot less people.
I mean,
yes.
The fact that everything's so automated and press button and this sort of thing is one thing, but the other, I think, the interaction of people is different.
Yes, yeah, absolutely is. And we might go to you, Andrew, on that. You were telling me as we were walking around that as a little 10 or 12-year-old boy, you used to walk with your dad down and look at the different coil lines at Springhill. Tell us about that.
Dad always used to work long hours, and my sister and I often in bed before he came home. And but one of the things he always used to do was to go through the steelworks on a Saturday morning. And I think probably because he didn't get much time during the week, but he always made it as a habit every Saturday to go and spend 2 or 3 hours walking through the plant. And I can't remember a lot because I was only sort of 8 or 9 or 10, but I can remember that almost to a T, every person knew him, and he'd have stop and have a conversation with the people on the floor and ask them how things were going and what was happening, and it was just, I guess, it had that sort of family element that he was really just walking through with the sole purpose of speaking to people. Yeah. Not really looking at anything much else but other than just
all about the people.
Finding out how they were feeling, what was going on, and that sort of thing. So
what an amazing role model that that legacy lives on, and it's one of the things our leaders talk about is actually making sure they're out and about, walking the floor and talking to the people. Now, I picked a couple of photos out of your collection here that you brought, John. Now, you used to travel in some elite company here. We've got
There's Bob Hawke in the middle.
yeah, Bob Hawke, the late great Bob Hawke, and then we've got someone called Dick Smith here on the end.
Yes.
And I don't know who's the other fellow there.
I don't know. He's obviously one of these young guys around the place.
Yeah, the young.
Very handsome.
It was a handsome young upstart coming up through, which is so. Then that just shows you that we might go to the kids here and just grandkids. What does that? How does that make you feel seeing photos like that and seeing the legacy that your grandfather's left?
He doesn't talk about the steelworks that much, so it's been very insightful to come here and learn a little bit more about our family heritage.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, the company still live on and the fact that it's stronger than it was before. So yeah, it's good to see.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And look, the other picture I grabbed here this is a picture of you, John, in Taiwan, Lysaght, Taiwan in 1988. So just showing that the expansion of great Aussie ingenuity to the world, and these products are all over the world now throughout our portfolio. So fabulous legacy.
Well, we had a couple of people who were very interested in developing Australia's role, and we had one guy we had two senior executives in the company in my young day who were much older than I was, and they operated from Newcastle, and their jobs were, one was to go around the world picking out new technology that was being developed, and this is going back a long way, and the other was to then talk to people about how the company could license or get a license to use that other people's technology.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. They were a group of senior people in the company talking about Newcastle and New South Wales, and what those two guys did, they had clear roles. One was to see what was happening in advances in technology. The other was to work out how we could make contact with those who have it. It was an interesting time.
Absolutely.
And there are probably lots of people doing that these days.
The technology that you've developed lives on, and Lexi, what did you think of that?
Oh, I thought it was amazing. The automation, to see not many people on the floor, which for employment that's a sad thing, but I imagine for safety it's fantastic. I think it's, an amazing thing.
Fantastic. And John, we'll give you the final word. Tell us the story you were telling us before about Western Port and why you bought such a big parcel of land down there. I think you went to Hawaii at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, there was a GCAN meeting in
Hawaii?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a complicated story, but it was about the time when BHP was an expanding force in Australia, and Geskin and Nettlefold, this English company that was operating in a lot of the same areas, and they finally decided they were going to get together because they went away. The chief executives or the managing directors, I think they were, or chairman of each company, to Hawaii to discuss what should happen. And
because was Western Port originally going to be potentially built a steel?
That's right. We had bought the land. I think it was 1,000 acres or something, but also it was on a deep water port, which was necessary if you wanted to ship in raw materials and that sort of thing.
And so they ended up doing a deal in Hawaii to not compete head on or something.
I got a trip to Hawaii out of it. I was taken along to sit in case they wanted to answer any technical questions. Anyhow, they didn't have to do that.
So
the Royal Hawaiian, I'll tell you, in Hawaii, it was very luxurious. Lysaght had a history going back to the UK, and I think the story was that I was told that one guy got on a train in South Wales and was chatting to somebody in the same compartment, and they got interested and they followed it up. Whether that was true, I don't know, but it developed from there in a way that a company had a closer relationship with its both senior and not so senior employees than most other ones. To me, it was a lucky time that I would happen to come along and get involved in this group. Played rugby in South Wales and all sorts of interesting things. We used to go on a bus trip every weekend playing other teams in South Wales. They'd all get in the bus, and the Welsh are great singers of songs, and I'm completely tone deaf.
I was going to ask for a song.
And they'd say, "Come on, Aussie, come on." And I'd run around and tie a kangaroo down my head or something.
Very good.
Dad played a hooker for the Glamorgan Wanderers, and then he also played in a Welsh representative team, and he had two big props. He said that used to look after him if there was any trouble on the football field.
It was good. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's fascinating. Well, it's fabulous to hear all these wonderful stories, and the legacy you've left is amazing for our industry, and we thank you for that. And you've got a wonderful family here. Thanks for visiting.
Thank you to the Lysaght family for their time and for agreeing to this special interview so that we could gain and share further insight into John's legacy. For other news and updates, go to bluescope.com, visit BlueScope on LinkedIn, or follow @BlueScope on Twitter. Thank you for listening to the Voices of BlueScope podcast. Until next time.